let's talk a little bit about food stamps. As I have talked about for years on this show, the government spending money on food stamps is a really, really good investment. First and foremost, if you can get food stamps, in other words, if you are eligible for food stamps, you are at an income level where you need the food stamp money and you are going to spend it. Therefore, when the government spends money in a way that goes back into the economy, that's positive compared to the government spending money on a tax cut for the rich. Most of that money is saved. That's a positive thing. But additionally, we look at the multiplier effect of food stamp spending and see that the money goes to the recipients and then to the local grocery store, and then money goes to the employees of that grocery store, and part of it goes to the suppliers of that grocery store, and then the growers, etc. The economic stimulus provided by food stamp spending is huge compared to so many other types of government spending. However, the new farm bill, much delayed bill, has passed, and it cuts food stamp spending while Americans continue to be in poverty in record numbers. The Republican-led House voted 251 to 166 in favor of the so-called farm bill, which would cost about $950 billion over 10 years. Senators predict it will also pass in the Senate. The plan, which the Congressional Budget Office estimates will cut spending by about $16 billion over 10 years from current levels, reflects the clout of rural and urban allies who kept farm subsidies and nutrition programs together over Republican objections. Yes, they kept them together, as Bloomberg writes, but we see further cuts to the food stamp program. The most frustrating thing about the almost $9 billion cut in food stamp spending is that we're talking about metaphorical peanuts here compared to what is spent on the areas that we always seem to have money for. We always seem to have money for replacing all of those bombs that need to be replaced. We always have money for wars. We've got money for military spending. But for some reason, we need to continue to carve out little bits of benefit that really do help the people who are receiving these benefits. $10 billion over 10 years on food stamps, and yet we're spending countless tens of billions, hundreds of billions on wars and defense, and there seems to be no way to turn around the conversation.
I guess if you don't have an unlimited supply of $100 million drones, David, to kill terrorists in who knows where, those terrorists will just wipe out everyone in this country. So perhaps that should be our priority.
And remember that Monsanto and Pepsi and Dean Foods, all of their lobbyists really worked hard on this bill, and they retained most of the subsidies that these huge food companies receive. But we've got to keep carving out those food stamp benefits. We've got to keep removing them. We need to keep reducing because we just are broke, Lewis, which of course we're not. But when we think we're broke, apparently the first thing to go are drops in the bucket, whether it was Big Bird, as Mitt Romney talked about, or food stamp benefits. But we seem to be swimming in it when it comes to funding the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, the food-industrial complex, et cetera, et cetera.
It's incredible how much, how many subsidies there are for these giant food conglomerates and tax breaks for them, yet we can't seem to get food to people for some reason.